when kids grow up and they're screwed up. It's because of their family life. It's not their school. It's not like it's their family. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about how to be a great dad. I have a 4-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. So there's some things that I've learned over the years that I think will be very helpful for you guys that are watching. We're going to get into it now and answer some of the questions that maybe will help some of you guys. Question is, what does being a good dad look like and how to measure that? For me, I think it's about how I show up each day. It's about how I'm leading my family. It's what my kids are watching me do on a daily basis. I really think that's the most important thing, is like how you're acting and behaving, at home with your kids and your wife. And then how do I measure success of that? I think it's, my kids, how do they look at me? How do they talk to me? Do they want to hang out with me? Do we enjoy our time when we're together? And, do they want to spend time with you, especially at an early age, where mine are 4 and 6, they're so impactful now, or so curious, right? So spending that quality time with them when they want to spend time with me tells me that, I'm doing things the correct way. How you show up when you come home for work at the end of the day, do you come in and you're on your phone, right away, or do you come in and spend time with your kids when you get home? Because again, they haven't seen you all day. So when you walk in and you're on your phone, that's not good for your kids, and they do notice that, as mine do, when I've slipped up and done that before. So I try to make sure I turn it off when I come home for the day, spend some quality time with them, and then maybe I get back on my phone. But doing that first thing when you walk in is I think a big deal. And again, your kids notice it. Hey guys, real quick, if you have any questions or need anything, all you got to do is text the number below. How has my relationship with my dad affected the way that I treat my kids? Well, I think it taught me what not to do, right? So I didn't have that mentorship. My dad wasn't around a lot, and when he was, it was just not pleasant and good. So, I learned a lot of what not to do, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about my kids now, is because I didn't get the things that I'm actually giving to my kids now, like making sure that I take them to school every day. I try to pick them up most days, but I always take them to school no matter what. I never schedule appointments before I drop them off. Making sure I go to all the sporting events.
Let's go, Maverick. Yes, run, 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 run. Yeah. Good job, Mav.
I try to go to everything, even if it seems, small.
A new puppy. A new puppy. Can I let him out?
This y'all's new puppy. And not a big deal. It's a big deal to me because I just didn't have that, right? And so I think that's why I'm so passionate about making sure that I'm there for my kids, so that when they get older, they don't have the same perception that I do, because I don't remember ever my dad taking me to school, and not ever, or having dinner with the family. Like, it's something that we do now that we didn't really do as a kid. Like, I really can't remember one time where we sat down at a table and had dinner, which is not good, right? So for me, that just drives me to be the best dad and husband that I can be, because my dad, he wasn't good to my mom either. So it's like, you see all these things as a kid, and that's kind of what shapes you going forward. So I'm glad that happened, honestly, because it just really put me in position now to where I can be the best version of myself to my kids, and I know my kids look up to me. Like, I know it, I can see it in their eyes with some of the things that they say, and that's how I know that I'm being successful in that area, because I didn't have any of that. What kind of legacy do I want to leave for my children? Well, I think for me, most importantly, when I'm not here, is that my kids look back and say that, their dad was their superhero. Like, I want to be the one that they look up to, that they remember, that they respect, from, being in shape, to running a business, to, treating my wife well, treating them with love and respect. So, really when I'm just not here anymore, I want them to remember that. Like, not about how much money, I have or anything like that, but like how I treated them, and was I there for them, when they were growing up, and remember the experiences that we have, as a family, I think is what's really important. Not the stuff, the experiences. There's been situations where I may have yelled at them, and you just, like, your emotions take over and you just like, stop, or whatever, and then they start crying, but being able to come back and apologize to your kid and explain, like, why that happened. Not that it's not an excuse, but like, just to get them to understand, like, I made a mistake and my emotions got the best of me, and then I blurted out, right, and then upset them. So, there's been a handful of those situations that's happened, but I always go back and apologize, like, always. That's important for them to know, like, hey, if you make a mistake, it's okay. You're going to make mistakes. Just come clean with it and then just move on with it. You know what I mean? I haven't really experienced too much of that at this point, you know, being that they're 4 and 6, but you know, that's the only thing I can think of is when, you know, I yell or, you know, something like that, like just being able to go to them and apologize. So what emotions do I struggle with as a father? You know, you're always wanting to be strong for your kids, but you know, obviously running businesses, you know, having stuff going on, you know, you're not always in that state of mind to where you're happy and playful, and you know, sometimes you get home and you're tired and exhausted and they want to play and you don't. So for me, sometimes handling, you know, the stress of life and things that you got going on, you know, sometimes it's difficult. Like sometimes you just kind of, you know, maybe a day where you just need to go lay down and be by yourself because you don't want that to come off wrong to your kids. They can sense it. Like I've sensed it from Maverick, you know, not Callie so much, but Maverick, he can notice when something's wrong and he'll ask me, it's like, hey, what's bothering you? And when I hear that, it really makes me think about, okay, how am I showing up, right? Because again, it's hard. It's hard when you got a lot going on that people just don't recognize in your face that you're stressed out or that something's bothering you. But again, what I try to do is when I come home, like just give them that time and try to block all that stuff out, although it's very difficult to do. But you know, I think you just got to do the best you can do. I don't think there's, you know, magic formula to that, you know, because stress is just it's a part of life, especially if you're growing and you're trying to accomplish big things. Like you're just going to have more problems in your life. And, you know, I think being honest with your kids and letting them know like, hey, daddy had a bad day. I had a lot going on. It's nothing to do with you. And having that conversation, like Maverick can understand that at this point. They definitely know. They know a lot. They see everything, like more than we realize they see. I wish they didn't see so much. You know what I mean? But they're sponges and they know when something's wrong. They sense it, you know. But it's hard. It's hard when you have things going on in your life that they don't understand and they don't know yet because they're not at that age. Like there's been times where I'm like, I shouldn't go home because I'm just not in the right state of mind. But then you don't want to do that because you want to be with your kids, you know. But it's tough. I mean, it happens to me quite often, to be honest with you. There's been times like, you know, I'm like, man, I'm just gonna, like I've sat in a parking lot or I'll go to Starbucks and sit there. Like I gotta figure out whatever it is I'm trying to figure out before I go home. Otherwise I'm gonna be everywhere but there. And you know, you should be where your feet are. So when you go home, you should be home. Be with your kids, be with your kids. Don't be with your kids and be working mentally. And when you're at work, you should work and not be anywhere else. And that's where I mean, it's difficult, right? We can say, hey, be where your feet are, but it's hard. You gotta be really conscious of it. You gotta be very aware. And you know, Allie will bring, like she could just nudge me, and she wouldn't even say anything, but it's like, oh yeah, because I won't even realize like I'm on my phone, you know, like they'll be wanting to play, and I'm like, you doing something else, and she might say, I think you should play with her, you know, and then like it just clicks in my head. Oh, she's pretty.
Such a baby.
What's your baby's name?
She's name is Byron.
Byron. Wow. You know, because she's 4, she don't understand that, why I'm not wanting to play. Like she's probably taking it personal, you know, but it's just because I'm like got 10 million things running on in my mind and I'm not thinking of it like that, you know. And again, I didn't have any of that. It's hard for me because I didn't see it growing up. You know what I mean? Like it's tough. What they see their parents do is going to shape them. And if it's not in the right way, it's going to be hard for them to get out, as it was for me. But I did totally turn it. But it was a lot of work. You know, otherwise I could just be like everybody else, you know, in my family, the same mindset, and then my kids wouldn't be good. Because I really think that's a big part of when kids grow up and they're screwed up. It's because of their family life. It's not their school. It's not like it's their family. You can get through all that other stuff if they understand from you what's right, what's wrong, where are we going, you know. And I think and it's because people are busy. They come home and then they're just busy again. Their kids are outside playing. They don't spend any time with them, you know, and just taking time to read at night like I do every night. I read every night. Even if it's just 2 pages of his little Bible, like I make sure we do that. Even though I'm exhausted and I don't want to do it like 90% of the time. Like you know, I don't even want to do that. But I do it because I know it's important to him. And he'll notice if I don't do it. It's not where it needs to be, but it all really comes back to how I grew up. Like I remember very vividly Like my dad wasn't at sports. He wasn't picking me up, like wasn't taking me to get ice cream and taking me to Starbucks and getting a cake pop and a croissant. Like I didn't get any of that. So like I love doing that. Like I'll make less money to do those things. As you know, I don't even think I've made less money. Like, but I will make less money. Like I won't sacrifice that to make more money. Like I'm wiser now. I wouldn't have been like that in my 20s though. I wouldn't even have been able to, if I'd have had kids then, I wouldn't think the same. So I would have made different decisions, which really wouldn't have been good ones because I just wasn't prepared to have kids in my 20s or even early 30s probably. Because I was so focused on business. Like it would have been they would have just been neglected. So I'm glad I waited that long because I'm at a point to where I can control my time now, which is everything to me. Like time is everything, not money, you know, and having energy too, like being in a good mood. That's even like you can have time and be out of energy and it's useless. But if you can have energy when you have that time, to me, it's like, you know, you just schedule everything around those things. Like you just schedule them. Like you just block your calendar out and for the things you need to do with your kids, and that's it. Like Saturday, we're going somewhere with them. Like I won't do anything. And I wouldn't used to think like that. I would just want to work 24/7 because I felt like I was missing something. And I don't think like that now. I'm like, well, it would just wait. And I don't know of one opportunity I didn't get because I went and did something with my family and then that opportunity went away. Like I can't even think of one. But that's how you think though when you're like driven. You're like, I got to take this call. It's an opportunity. I got to take it. I got to take it. At what cost? It's not worth that to me. Not for that little bit of time. You know what I mean? Because again, they don't need much time anyway. You spend 30 minutes with them, they want to go do something else anyway. 15 minutes, solid 15 minutes, they're like, okay, now I can get back on the phone and do what I'm doing. And it's probably as they get older, they'll spend less time with you. They won't even want to be with you. You know, so I want to take advantage of that now when I can. And that's how I build my business around that now. Whereas before, I would not have done that. But I will say this, like if I didn't have the childhood that I had, I wouldn't think like this. And then I would probably be making the same mistake that I see a lot of other people make where just money focused. Because they had a decent childhood, so they're just chasing money and they don't understand the effect on the kid. Well, I understand it because I was the kid that was affected. So that's the reason I made the shift. If I didn't grow up that way, I probably would be like everybody else and just thinking, well, it's fine. It's not a big deal because you didn't experience it. Once you experience something, you'll start doing things differently if it matters to you. And I think that's really the difference of maybe a lot of people chasing money or chasing everything else because they didn't experience those hard times as a kid and they don't understand the effect that's actually happening on your kids. What sacrifices have I made for my children and how do I feel about them? Well, I honestly don't feel like it's a sacrifice because they're the most important thing to me. So to me, it's not a sacrifice. Like the first thing that came to mind is like, oh, well, I'm not working as much maybe as I used to because my schedule's kind of around what they're doing. But that's, to me, it's not like I'll sacrifice that for my kids. Yeah, so basically how do I balance business and my family life, my kids and stuff? Well, for me, it's like I don't believe in balance. I believe you go through seasons, and I believe like it's work-life integration to where your family's with you on this journey and it's not separate. And so my kids understand that we have businesses. They understand that, you know, we work out. There's certain things that we take care of ourselves. So we're teaching them now at an early age, you know, these things. I schedule everything around my kids, and that's what I tell people. It's what I teach people. Like, what do you value the most? So for me, it's my kids, it's my family. It's what I value the most. So what you value, you will do. Like people say they value their family, but it's the last thing they do. Well, you don't really value your family. You value your business more. That's just the facts, right? So I value my kids. So when they have something to do, it's on my calendar. I'm just going to work around it, you know, like everything else goes around that. I don't try to fit my kids around everything else because what happens is you don't get them in. Everything else is on your schedule and you're trying to fit your kids in and then you're not there. So for me, it's like, what do the kids have going on? That's on the schedule. Everything else goes around that. And the same with Allie. Like if we have date night, like it's got to go around that. Because if you don't prioritize that, you'll never have date night. Which we'll go through those seasons where maybe we don't do it every week for whatever reason, but it's not good. You know, you need to do those things and be intentional about it. Again, what you value most, you'll do. Most people say they value your health, but they don't work out and they're out of shape. Well, you don't value that really. you know. So for me, I value my kids. And so everything else is just going to go around it. I'm never going to take an opportunity over my kids. Not ever. I don't care how much it is. I'm just not going to do it. I just don't even feel you have to do that. I feel like you can have it all. Really, I think you can have it all. The whole pie. You can have it all. If you know what you want, you're focused during the day and you're spending time on the right things that matter. No. And what's making a little less money going to do anyway? Does it really matter? No. No one's going to remember that. But they'll remember you being at all their games, all their doctor's appointments, you know, going to the park. So, you know, that's what I do. Just schedule everything around that. What values and life lessons do I want to teach my children? I guess most importantly is to be good people, right? So again, your kids are watching what you do. So how you treat each other, your wife or your spouse, how you treat other people, your kids notice that. So I want them to grow up and be good people, but I also want to teach them the skill sets they need that actually matter in life that, again, most of your educational system does not teach that, right? Letting them know that exercising, taking care of their body and their mind is important, making sure they're reading every night, you know, just teaching them disciplines and habits like cleaning your room every day, like start to instill that at an early age so that becomes normal for them. Because if not, they get older and you start trying to throw in all these routines. That's why kids struggle with getting jobs and keeping priorities, because they're not used to, they've had no discipline in their life because their parents weren't disciplined and they didn't hold them to any kind of standard. So having standards in your life for your family, you know, what's the vision? What are your values? What do you represent? You know, what are the things you're doing on a daily basis? You know, to me, that's what's important with that. I think so. How we discipline with love instead of, you know, yelling, which we don't do. I think you know, setting expectation, setting standards, leading by example. Though when they see you do things, then they're more willing to do the thing themselves, right? And when you're asking them to, for example, clean their room, it's explaining why you're asking them to clean the room. You know, not just tell them to clean the room because I said go clean your room. It's explaining that, right? And it's teaching them those little things like clean your room before you get ready for bed, do burpees in the morning before you go to school, read your Bible before you go to bed, 3 things you're grateful for every night. Like we do these things now. Is it perfect? No, but like these are certain routines and habits that you instill in your kids early. That's what creates discipline, is the routines that you set in place. If there's no routines in your life, you're not going to be disciplined. And so teaching them the little things now is going to create that discipline for them. Like, you know, you eat dinner, you clean up. Before you go to school, you clean up. You put your stuff away, right? Again, it's not perfect, but those are the things that we're trying to instill, and they see us doing it as well. And again, as long as you're going about it in the right way, and our kids respect us. Like I can tell, like you can just tell. Like we don't really have a problem getting our kids to clean their room. Like they don't, like, you know, it's not that they don't ever say why or whatever, but like generally they already understand because they see this is what we do. And what we do, they'll do. I mean, this just happened the other night. I think we talked about it before. It's like I was reading, or Callie, we were playing a game. I was watching a podcast, and my eyes kept, you know, going like this. And she said, "Dad, you're not focusing," and then shut the game and walked out. Or Mav see me on my phone, you know, when we're, you know, at the park or, you know, whatever, right? Because that happens, right? And sometimes you just got to explain that, hey, I'm here early today, but I got to make a few phone calls. Like I've done that before if I come home early, because otherwise they expect you to like stop at 2 o'clock, and obviously I can't do that. But just explaining to them, you know, when that happens, like why I'm on it, or it's like, hey, I'm sorry, you're right, and I'll put the phone down. And that's happened a lot too, you know, where they'll call you out on it. It's like, yeah, you're right, you know, sorry. And just move on with it. What's up, guys? Hey, if you enjoyed this video and found it valuable, go ahead and like and subscribe.